Okay, we are here with Cate Owren from WEDO. Cate, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Cate, you are just holding a side event right now, which we've pulled you away from. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. This is one of the very special events focused on gender equality here at Gender Day at the COP. There was a Gender Day hosted by the Secretariat last year in Durban, but we like to think of this as, maybe selfishly, as the first real Gender Day because this is the first time that it's been a fully collaborative, multi-stakeholder event with women's NGOs leading the way, the Secretariat fully on board hosting their own events as well, governments, other partners across all levels and sectors. So for us, it's a very special event. And I would also like to say that it's not necessarily a new idea. The idea of Gender Day was first put forward at COP9 in Milan. So it actually took us almost a decade to realize this, but here we are, and we're celebrating it. It's fantastic.
Well, as a fellow woman, I salute it. So there's tons of research and tons of documentation around the fact that, particularly in the developing world, women are leading climate change adaptation efforts. In terms of the message that you would like to send to negotiators here at the COP, what do you want them to see as the role of women in fighting climate change?
Equal counterparts. I think it's actually really, to me, it's such a common sense issue that I have trouble understanding why it would be thought of as a special issue or a special interest issue, because we're talking about half the population. It's really incredibly simple. Women make up I think it's close to 52% of the world population. Women make up at least half, if not slightly more than half of the population in every country around the world. We're not talking about a special interest group here. We're talking about men and women, people living on the planet, those who are responsible for climate change, as well as those who are feeling the impacts now. And yes, you're absolutely right. There is a tremendous amount of research now that those populations, certainly those geographies, we know that much, but those populations that are already facing discriminations, marginalization, inequities, inequalities in a variety of ways, those are the populations that are going to be, and already are, the most profoundly impacted by climate change. And I think that message has really finally started to resonate here at the climate change negotiations. A couple of years ago, there was we were fighting to get social issues understood. And now we've gone a step further and we have gender equality, women's rights text in all aspects of the negotiations here. Not all aspects, but quite a wide range. And we think that that's a tremendous victory. But, of course, the work does not stop, because we want these words on paper, but, a paper in a filing cabinet somewhere is worthless. We really need to push negotiators to think through all the steps, and we're really talking about what do we need to accomplish here to create an enabling environment for real action on the ground in all countries. And I come from New York City that just went through Hurricane Sandy, so this is not, it was the most devastating and expensive recovery process, I think, in the world. Definitely in the United States.
Sorry, 50 billion is what we're seeing.
It's an incredible, it really is an incredible awakening, I think, that this is not just a victim issue. This is not just a problem that's going to hit those most vulnerable. We know that that's true. This is a problem that the entire world is facing, and New York is one of the richest one of the richest cities in the world, and yet it was crippled. It was literally crippled for over a week because of this natural disaster.
Christiana Figueres, we ran into her in the hallway leaving your panel. I actually have a picture of her from up above speaking on your panel. So she is in an interesting position that she gets to speak to everyone else, both as the leader of this COP and as a woman. What message would you like her to take on behalf of 52% of the population?
I think Christiana has done an absolutely extraordinary job. I wouldn't ask her to do anything different. I would just ask her to stick with it. She has really shone a spotlight on gender issues, I think, recently, especially in this last year. And we're so proud and grateful for that. And she's fostered a real collaborative spirit here at COP, inviting women's organizations who only a few years ago were fighting for spaces to be heard here. I mean, the women's major group, the recognized women and gender constituency here at the COP, at the UNFCCC, is brand new. We only formed officially a few years ago, and we were recognized officially, I think, 2 years ago. So this is really, we think of this as a real transformative time, and Christiana has, I think her leadership has been profound, and she has been rigorous. She said on our event just a couple of minutes ago that sometimes you have to break the rules, and I think she's right. I think we have a lot of rules to break, a lot of norms that we need to change, and I'm very grateful for her leadership on this issue.
What's the one rule left that you think needs to be broken?
Oh boy, that's really hard. That's really hard.
You set me up for it. I could not take it.
I did. Gosh, that's really hard. I think that it might not be so much about rules, although certainly rules could be synonymous with laws in all of our countries, and there are countless legal structures in place in all of our countries that exacerbate unequal societies, not just amongst men and women, but amongst cultures, amongst classes. I mean, we are faced with a global structural system that really loves to categorize people. And unfortunately, with an issue like climate change, that's just doing us a tremendous disservice, because we need everyone at the table. We need every solution, from the most local grassroots level up to the highest, most suit-wearing politician level. You know, we need everyone at the table on this one. This is the most comprehensive issue the world has ever faced.
Awesome. Okay, and now the extra bonus question. This one is about the NGO movement. We are a fairly disparate movement, but if we were to unite and do just one thing to tackle the climate crisis, what would you, in your personal opinion, not necessarily your organization's opinion, what would you recommend that we do?
I think the NGO movement here in the climate change talks is an incredibly interesting one. And my organization, WEDO, we are known as the founder of the Women's Caucus. We, since our beginning, our focus has been on ensuring that spaces exist, recognized official spaces exist for women to get to decision-making tables. That has been a huge focus. That's a part of our mandate since our founding. And you know, this process has been through a long road of figuring out how civil society is allowed to participate. And it has been a fairly clumsy process, I think. It has been a very challenging process. And it's only been recently that the major groups recognized in the sustainable development world are officially recognized here, which is a good thing, we, of course, as we do, we want to see these proper official spaces created. But it sort of baffles me that civil society is still so relegated to the outskirts in this process, because we are people. I mean, this is a people's issue. This is a people's process. Our negotiators are there to reflect our needs and as people, as the global community, our positions, our priorities, our expertise, our everything. So I think we have a long way to go to recognizing across the board that climate change is a human issue, it's a human rights issue. And I would love to see the NGO community rally a bit more around that idea. I think, of course we all have our specialties and our areas of focus, but I wish we could come together a little bit more to maybe bring that rallying cry to our negotiators, who, in the end, are working for us.
And are also people.
Yes, and are also people, women and men. That's right.